McGovern fiasco was quickly absorbed by all who would pronounce on the American diet. When a few years later the National Academy of Sciences looked into the question of diet and cancer, it was careful to frame its recommendations nutrient by nutrient rather than food by food, to avoid offending any powerful interests. We now know the Academy's panel of 13 scientists adopted this approach over the objections of at least 2 of its members, who argued that most of the available science pointed toward conclusions about foods, not nutrients. According to T. Colin Campbell, a Cornell nutritional biochemist who served on the panel, all of human population studies linking dietary fat to cancer actually showed that the groups with higher cancer rates consume not just more fats but also more animal foods and fewer plant foods as well. Quote, this meant that the cancers could just as easily be caused by animal protein, dietary cholesterol, something else exclusively found in animal-based foods, or the lack of plant-based foods. Campbell wrote years later, the argument fell on deaf ears. In the case of the good foods, too, nutrients also carried the day. The language of the final report highlighted the benefits of the antioxidants in the vegetables rather than the vegetables themselves. Joan Gousseau, a Columbia University nutritionist who served on the panel, argued against the focus on nutrients rather than whole foods. Quote, the really important message in the epidemiology, which is all we had to go on, was that some vegetables and citrus fruits seemed to be protective against cancer. But those sections of the report were written as though it was the vitamin C in the citrus or the beta-carotene in the vegetables that was responsible for the effect. I kept changing the language to talk about foods that contain vitamin C and foods that contain carotenes. Because how do you know it's not one of the other things in the carrots or the broccoli? There are hundreds of carotenes, but the biochemists had their answer. You can't do a trial on broccoli. So nutrients won out over foods. The panel's resort to scientific reductionism had the considerable virtue of being both politically expedient, in the case of meat and dairy, and to these scientific heirs of Justus von Liebig, intellectually sympathetic. With each of its chapters focused on a single nutrient, the final draft of the National Academy of Sciences report, Diet, Nutrition, and Cancer, framed his recommendations in terms of saturated fats and antioxidants rather than beef and broccoli. In doing so, the 1982 National Academy of Sciences report helped codify the official new dietary language, the one we all still speak. Industry and media soon followed suit in terms like polyunsaturated, cholesterol, monounsaturated, carbohydrate, fiber, polyphenols, amino acids, flavonoids, carotenoids, antioxidants, probiotics, and phytochemicals soon colonized much of the cultural space previously occupied by the tangible material formerly known as food. The age of nutritionism had arrived.